Ever noticed how much you talk to yourself? Entire conversations going on in your head, a full dialogue going on. You ask a question and you answer it. Sometimes you even argue with yourself. You're so deep in that conversation that you forget you're physically somewhere and you have been staring at someone the whole time. And when you come back to reality, your eyes meet. And it's kind of awkward because while they were standing there, you were somewhere else entirely, inside a conversation in your own head, which raises a question. How can this internal voice consume us this much? That sometimes it absorbs all of our senses, that pulls our attention so completely that the outside world disappears for a moment. And why do we talk to ourselves in the first place? Welcome back to Dose of Confidence. I'm Em, and today we're looking at something most of us do all the time. We talk to ourselves, sometimes out loud, most of the time quietly inside our heads. We explain things to ourselves. We question decisions. We replay conversations that already ended hours ago. Sometimes we even rehearse conversations that haven't happened yet. A comment here, a reply there, a small discussion running in the background while the rest of life continues. So first, is it normal to talk to yourself? The short answer is yes, very normal. Children actually do it very openly. If you watch a child trying to solve a puzzle, you will hear the entire thought process. Okay, this piece goes here. No, that's wrong. Maybe this one. They talk their way through the problem. Adults still do the same thing. We just move most of the conversation inside. The voice becomes more private, but it doesn't disappear. And I recently learned something interesting. Not everyone has this constant inner chatter. Some people have a steady stream of words in their mind. Others don't. Some think mostly in images or feelings or quick realizations that don't translate as sentences, which makes this a little fascinating because some people walk around with a quiet mind and others have what feels like a 24-hour internal podcast. I definitely belong to the group with a never-ending internal voice. That inner commentary actually helps more than we realize. Thoughts can be messy. Several ideas fire at once, half-formed, pumping into each other, but the moment you turn them into words, they slow down, they line up. It feels a bit more manageable. It's like taking everything out of a crowded bag and laying it on the table. Now you can actually see what's there. Okay, first finish this, then send that message, then figure out what to do for dinner. Small sentences, but they keep the day moving. And have you noticed how much we tend to replay conversations? You leave a meeting, but the conversation continues in your head for the next 2 hours. You review what happened, you edit your responses, you deliver a brilliant line that would have completely changed the outcome. Unfortunately, about 2 hours too late, our mind seems to enjoy running social rehearsals. Past conversations get replayed, reviewed and modified. Future conversations get practiced. We start rehearsing conversations that would probably never happen in real life. You explain yourself to people who are not present. You defend arguments that no one is actually making. And occasionally, you become so absorbed in that imaginary discussion that you forget you're standing in the supermarket. So why do we talk to ourselves? The answer might be simple. We learned about the world through conversations. People explain things to us. Our parents, our teachers, our friends. Explanations were in the form of questions and answers, back and forth. Over time, those conversations move inward. Now, the roles still exist. There is the part of you asking questions and the part of you answering them. Should I say this? Maybe. Wait. No, say it tomorrow. Sometimes there are two voices, questioning and answering. It's a strange arrangement, but it helps us think things through. However, not every inner conversation is pleasant. Sometimes the voice shows up with negative comments. You should have handled that better. Why did you say that? That was awkward. This voice often sounds very certain, almost official, but it usually isn't entirely yours. It carries pieces of things you heard before, expectations, old comments, standards you picked up somewhere along the way. Your mind repeats them, and because the voice is inside your head, it can sound more convincing than it actually is. But can we redirect that conversation? Sometimes an interesting thing happens during your self-talk. You catch it, and you realize that you're not just speaking, you're also listening, and that you can change the tone of the conversation. Instead of being pulled along by every thought, you start hearing them. Some sound reasonable, some sound over the top, and some are just dramatic. You catch yourself thinking, okay, wait. And strangely enough, the conversation changes. When you realize that you can sometimes steer that internal voice, you can stop it when it turns negative, and you can redirect it to be helpful instead of purely critical. Most of us carry this dialogue all day. A sentence while tying your shoes, a comment while checking your phone, a full discussion during a long walk. Sometimes it helps you think something through. Sometimes it replays a moment you wish had gone differently, and sometimes it just fills the silence while your mind sorts things out. That inner voice is always around, and like any conversation, the tone matters. It's still a conversation you hear more than any other. So on days where that voice can be a little harsh, notice how you speak to yourself and be kinder to yourself, because that voice that you hear all day is the one you live with. If this video helped you, feel free to subscribe and share it with someone who might need it. And let me know what other topics you'd like to hear about next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.